Panthers this week. We'll start with this game on Thursday night, the blackout game, the one we wished they would actually black out. Ugh. Here's the big news right here, folks. Are we cool with P.J. Walker being named the starting quarterback against the Atlanta Falcons? This is the story right now, is P.J. Walker, after a whopping, actually played the first half last week against the Cincinnati Bengals, down in passing situations. He was 3 for 10 with 9 yards.
Yeah.
He finished the game, I think, with 2 interceptions. He almost had as many interceptions as he had completions. He was benched after, they put in Baker Mayfield for the second half, and Baker Mayfield probably played arguably his best game of the season this year. Didn't make any mistakes, made his completions, didn't have the batted balls that he had. And now P.J. Walker is being brought back in to play the Atlanta Falcons, who he did have a very good game against a week and a half, and Baker Mayfield is unavailable for the media. Cody Lashney, is this the right move, and is there a story to Baker Mayfield's lack of availability to the media?
Well, Tony Dunn, let me answer you very simply. Yes, and yes. One, yes, this is the right move. And yes, there is a story to be told about this. Number one, look, I know that right now none of these quarterbacks inspire any kind of hope in Panther Nation. And that goes without saying, man. We have seen now both P.J. Walker, Baker Mayfield, and Sam Darnold at one point throughout their Panther career become interception machines, giving the ball over at a high clip. So it's understandable if you're looking at PJ's last performance and not feeling very confident. But the question that I pose to all of you is, what quarterback has been better for the Carolina Panthers than P.J. Walker? Yes, that last performance was not very good. I understand that completely. But right now, especially against the Atlanta Falcons, we have one quarterback that is proven to be able to do more damage than any of the other ones. Now, number two, you said, is there a story there? Absolutely there is, man. Baker Mayfield is big time upset, big time hurt, really hurt. He feels that this is his last opportunity to audition for a starting quarterback job in the NFL. And now Steve Wilkes is going to go with P.J. Walker over him and not give him that opportunity that he came here to Carolina for. Right. I know he's a little bit upset, but frankly, I don't know what argument on earth makes you put Baker Mayfield on the field over Sam Darnold when Baker Mayfield as a starter,
over Sam Darnold or P.J. Walker?
P.J. Walker has never proven to be able to put an offense on the field that is at all competent at all.
What about last week and his performance last week? Did you not see any glimmers of like the Baker that we thought we were getting last week?
No, I mean, listen, he came in, provided a spark. Kudos to him. But remember that we're playing against the Bengals backups at this point. They're pulling starters. They're playing.
Not in the beginning of the third quarter, they weren't.
I'm just saying, man. Listen, as the game moved on, we put up the most points when the Bengals knew that the game was over, man. And the game was over. So I'm not gonna say, all of a sudden Baker is now able to do something that P.J. Walker doesn't or can't. I'm sorry, that's not the truth for me.
Have we really seen a lot from Baker? From PJ, Greg, other than the Atlanta Falcons game and the crazy pass? And I guess you could say he played well against Tampa Bay. Also,
he really didn't. He didn't play great against Tampa Bay. He played like a Baker Mayfield type game. And I'll counter your point there, Cody. With you're right. Like there's nothing that like screams that Baker Mayfield is the guy. But there's more evidence that shows Baker Mayfield is the guy based on at least what happened last week than there is to say, let's change it back to PJ. PJ had the one good game, and you're right. Baker played against backups last week for most part in the second quarter. PJ played against backups the entire game against Atlanta. They were on their third string DBs, and they're still not a very good team. So he played, and if you look at every other game in PJ's career, he's put up Baker numbers or less, and most of the time less. Even in the Tampa Bay game, he only had like 178 passing yards. He was efficient and he didn't turn the ball over, but he didn't have a great game. I think there were 3 rushing touchdowns. So, I mean, and the defense played outstanding, 21-3. So, I mean, there's nothing. Well, I don't think that it's the right decision to do this. It's also not wrong because nobody on the team is really like has really earned the job. It doesn't really matter at this point. But I can see why Baker gets upset because if it's a matter of earning, him and Sam Darnold have done more than PJ has in their games, but Sam Darnold's been the best so far. If you really sit down and look at the stats and the wins and the games played, Sam Darnold's been the best.
But my question is, what has? Okay, yes, at the start of last year, Sam did well, but what has Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold done better than PJ Walker?
What has PJ Walker done better than them? He had one good game.
Dude,
he looked way better.
DJ Moore is an actual factor in our offense with PJ Walker at quarterback. And by the way, now that you don't have a Christian McCaffrey, now that you don't have that safety valve for guys like Baker and Sam that are kind of tepid to push the ball downfield at times, I don't know, man. I just feel like PJ Walker is still the hot hand.
I'm just saying.
They started earlier under Matt Rule, but Matt Rule is a moron. Those were 2 Matt Rule picks. Granted, PJ Walker was as well. He also went to Temple. But in my mind, from a physical perspective, PJ Walker is just the better player right now. But again, I don't blame anyone. I do not blame anyone for feeling one way or the other, man. Because, dude,
tallest short person.
Yeah, man. None of these guys are a market improvement over the other one. So
here's the real story, CK. We're missing one part of the puzzle. If Baker Mayfield plays more than 70% of the snaps, the pick that goes from the Cleveland Browns from a 5th turns to a 4th. And right now, he has missed time. Why? You know what I'm saying? Like, why even allocate more draft assets to a failed experiment, period? None of these guys are going to be with us. Who cares if any of them and all of them suck? Who cares about his feelings? PJ Walker right now, if anything, is just probably got the most reps with the ones in the last couple of weeks and is just ready on a short week.
Right. No, I agree. I think but I'm looking at it from the other perspective. We looked better as an offense with PJ Walker under center. You can look at his numbers, but as a whole, as an offense, we looked way better with PJ Walker.
I agree.
That's in passing game, getting you can talk about his numbers, but his numbers are far better than what Sam Darnold was putting up. Or not Sam, I mean Baker Mayfield was putting up. But here's the thing is Baker had 3 games to prove what he had. And he had 3 bad, not just bad, horrendous games. And PJ had 1. Like I don't think that doesn't make a lot of sense to me that he would lose an opportunity when Baker had 3 bad games to lose his job.
PJ started 3 games, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he lost his game halfway through the 3rd one. So, I mean, he had more than 1. He started 3 games.
No, but he looked better in those 2 games than Baker did. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Baker had one decent half. That's all he's had.
I'm gonna compare the stats through their 3 games because I do want to see this. This is interesting.
Baker was terrible, dude. He was horrific. And I think if anything that what I think is that PJ, while he was so putrid last week, he was just one of many putrid aspects of the team. Like, I almost don't even want to judge him entirely on that performance because, like, he should have probably been 6 of 10 for 30 yards with 2 picks. But it was like everything went bad. Everything went bad. And
drops, too. Can we mention that? Like, there were some good passes by PJ that were dropped. Again, I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but we had a bad performance up and down the field.
100%.
Well, I tell you one thing. Baker Mayfield might not be the only salty quarterback when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. But Cody Lashney, the man who dies on hills, who digs in regardless, has been probably the only warrior for Matt Corral being given a legitimate, authentic chance next year. And now people are starting to pick up on, and I'm not saying like, oh, they were listening to me. That's not what I'm saying. But like I told you guys, like from the beginning, that once he got hurt and then this stuff started going bad, he's going to be the baby with the bathwater. He's a casualty of war in the NFL. It's unfortunate, but with Matt Rule, we've seen too many quarterbacks go, or we've seen too many players who have just been associated with the old regime, right? We're going to talk about some coaches who are still being associated with the old regime. They're still being fired. All Matt Rule guys in a certain sense. But Jared Feinberg, I believe is his name, who I don't know. I think, who is he? Who is he?
Well, no, he
for?
actually writes for catcrave.com.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So he started tweeting a lot today in a thread about kind of the Cody Lashney position. It was almost like he channeled the Cody Lashney position and then responded to it and said, look, some people, he should have just said, I know Cody Lashney still wants to see Matt Corral start next year, but what has he shown to say he should? His preseason tape before the injury wasn't good. Can't keep going off his college film. It's going to be hard for him. And then he gets somehow, I guess the Cody Lashney minions started coming after Jared Feinberg here. And he said, I don't know why this is getting ratioed when it's a fair take on the situation, which I do think it is a fair take. But look at who is watching. Look at who is watching. Cody Lashney, tell us what's going on.
I mean, yeah, listen, a lot of people kind of took this a bunch of different ways, but one of the things that we all fail to realize is that in the year 2022, everyone has access to the internet, man. And anything that you're putting out there in the public sphere, on Twitter, on social media, inevitably gets seen by these players. And you might say something like this in passing, thinking that you're just talking to Panther fans. But Matt Corral saw it and liked it. This kind of tells me that your boy's looking for motivation. Listen, if you do any research on Matt Corral, this man is the ultimate underdog. All he has ever had to do as a quarterback is prove himself from the moment that he was in high school to college. Now he's going to have to do it again in the pros, man. To me, this is an example of Matt Corral not only showing that people are listening, or showing people that he is listening, but also saying, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, you think you know a lot about me? Oh, you think those preseason games was a good indicator of who I am as a quarterback? Yeah, all right, bro, what's up? And by the way, I want to make sure I'm on record. Yo, Matt, I believe in you, bro. I believe in you, man. I'm your number one fan, dude. Let's go. 9mm. Matt Corral. This man has it, dude. He is a premier talent that we have not seen given a really good chance to be the starting quarterback in the Carolina Panthers. Now, whether or not he gets that chance, that's out of my control. That's out of his control. However, if given to him, oh, man, do not count this man out.
We need the listeners of the C3 Panthers podcast to start and keep this up. Telling Matt Corral that Cody Lashney has been saying this for months. For weeks and months. He is the warrior. And what we need is to not only get Matt Corral to know that Cody Lashney is the reason that these takes even exist. It's the real truth about this. He is the only person.
So
really, arguably, you are their leader. You're the leader of this group,
yeah, dude,
of this radical faction. But we need him to know. I'm not even saying when I'm joking, you're the only one. You're the one that has a platform that's been saying this.
I'm loud about my shit, dude.
Right. Yeah. And you haven't budged. And we need Matt Corral not only to know this, but we need him to come on the C3 Panthers podcast this offseason.
Yeah, let's do it, Matt.
Let's wait till the transition. The guys are always going to be nervous to come on during the season, but we can grab them during the offseason. We need you guys to help us get Matt Corral on the C3 Panthers podcast. We'll clip these shorts. You guys are going to tag them. We're going to get this. Guys, there's other Panther players, though, who have been dealing with injury. Go ahead, Greg. You got a point on this?
Well, no, I had a point on the thing we had before. I was crunching some numbers. We were talking about the difference between PJ and Baker because it was interesting to me because I hadn't looked at those yet. I just kind of roughly looked at them. I wanted to see. It's surprising, y'all. So Baker through his first 3 games had 473 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 54% completion rate. PJ through his first 3 games had 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 53.5% completion rate. So they're almost identical stats through.
I
3
can't.
games.
I'm sorry. It's not.
I'm just telling
Greg,
you.
Greg, I know the
numbers
stats
say.
may show that.
lie.
The stats are 100% misleading in this, without question, because in one of those games we took over the game in rushing. And unfortunately, what PJ was able to do was in the second half, he turned it on. He basically won the game outside of a kicker fiasco, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he came in and he did a tremendous job in doing that. And when you talk about what I saw with PJ, is number one, he was way more accurate. He didn't have nearly as many batted balls, and he had a better arm than what we see from Baker Mayfield all year. This offense looked way better as a functioning unit under PJ Walker than it ever did in the first 3 games or 4 games, whatever it was, of Baker Mayfield. And I think what you have to do is you have to take into account, what was that 4th game that he got injured?
Who?
Who's it?
Baker.
I think it was later than that.
Was it the 5th game?
No, I think it was 4 because number 5 was Los Angeles, and that's when PJ started.
Yeah. So
Matt Rule was fired after week 4. Wow.
Yeah.
That was that.
And,
Yeah, right.
And Greg, just to kind of add to CK's thing, look, whoever you like best, again, it's a big whatever burger at this point.
Right.
My thing to cap off what CK said, Greg, is if you're going to feel confident about one, I just feel like you have to be able to say without question that Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield brings something specific to the offense that PJ Walker is incapable of. And I don't think there's anything like that exists for those two.
Yeah. And I can understand that point, but I think you have to say that for every one of them because we say this now.
Sure.
I bet you if you go back and watch that week 1 game against Cleveland, because that was a long time ago, you'll think differently about Baker Mayfield because we were.
He had a good fourth quarter that game.
And he looked good that game.
That was in the fourth quarter. He looked good.
Yeah,
he looked
horrendous. The game with PJ where you were just talking about, we had the run support game. He had 178 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns given to him on the ground.
It does help.
Baker never had that.
It's all about that draft pick. Who cares?
No,
it's about that draft pick.
I'm just trying to say that it doesn't like what Cody's saying is right. There's nothing any one of them has shown to say that they go over that they're better than the other one, but PJ hasn't either. And for him to be elevated, he has to have done something to say that this is the reason why I'm there. And he hasn't done anything to prove that. His track record.
I would say that Atlanta game. I think that Atlanta game was far better than any one game that Baker had.
That's more than anything that Sam or Baker.
Even the win against the Saints, Baker had nothing to do with that. That was our defense entirely.
Yeah.
They had a run back for a score, and it was
same thing with the Tampa Bay game.
Did Baker do enough in the second half to?
That was not
21-3, and that wasn't the defense.
21-3, and there was 3 offensive touchdowns.
But you stopped the other team from scoring at with 3 points.
Right, defense helped. I'm saying the defense helped, but when you look at that Saints game, the defense had everything to do with that win.
Yeah,
everything. You can't look at that game and point to one other offensive. One offensive player that was a dominant player that actually contributed to that win. That was a horrendous offensive performance that happened. I remember after that game, we were like, man, that didn't really leave us feeling pretty confident about this team with winning that game.
Yeah, we really need to just be looking. I think at that 5th and 4th round draft pick is one thing when it comes to Baker. And then really the other thing is honestly, unless we find that somehow we think that this team is just sorely underperformed through whatever weeks we're at right now. And then last week was more of an anomaly, we have no reason to believe that at all. We need to not be winning. So we need to be putting in whoever is going to help us not win. But we also cannot lose as uncompetitively as we did last week, because that is just